When I see the recording.
All right, we are recording.
Good evening and welcome to the Parent Academy Power Hour, Dear Overwhelmed Moms. My name is Sheila Kane and I'm the District Coordinator for Family and Community Engagement for Pinellas County Schools. If you're joining us live tonight, welcome. If you're viewing the recording, we're happy you've taken the time to get the information. We're going to ask that you stay muted this evening unless we ask you to unmute. The camera's on when possible because it is nice to feel like we might be all in the same room together, at least someday, and to see your beautiful faces. Please use the chat box for questions. It's on your toolbar in Zoom at the little conversation bubble. And if you open that up, please go ahead and put your questions in as they come to you throughout the presentation. There'll be times when April will stop to answer questions and we will take time as well at the end. But go ahead and put them in when they come to you so we don't lose them. Tonight, I want to welcome our partners at the Juvenile Welfare Board and especially Jamie Peel, who's our tech resource. And our presenter is April Lott. She's a licensed clinical social worker and president and CEO of Directions for Living. Ms. Lott is going to start us off tonight. So April, it's all yours.
Hey, good evening. Thank you, Sheila, and thank you to the Juvenile Welfare Board and the school system and everybody who's taken the time this evening to join us. And as Sheila said, for all of you who will be watching this recording at a later time, welcome to you as well. So tonight we're going to talk about you as parents and in particular as moms. I have been training for probably the last 20 years on a topic by the name of compassion fatigue. And interestingly enough, as I thought about the presentation that I would do tonight titled Dear Overwhelmed Mom, it really dawned on me that really what we're talking about is very similar to compassion fatigue. I'm gonna start by sharing my screen. I hope I get this right. Can everybody see that? Good, okay. It's not advancing. Let's see here. How do I?
Give it another click. Sometimes it takes a second to advance.
Really? Darn it. I even practiced this. Let's see. There we go. So I like to start every presentation with a quote. And so the quote for tonight is, "That which is to give light must endure burning." That which is to give light must endure burning. What does that mean to anybody? You can put it in the chat feature. But what does that mean to you? That which is to give light must endure burning. Jamie, you might have to help me. I can't see my chat.
All right, I'll look into the chat to see
Okay.
what people have said. Things worth doing are worth working at. That's what Sheila said.
Yeah, things worth doing, worth working at. How many of you would say that you give light, that you are responsible for light, you bring light to your family, you bring light to your children, you bring light? How many of you would say that you give light? Yes, I see a thumbs up by Sheila. Exactly. That which is to give light must.
Says she is the sun.
Say it again.
Yaya says she is the sun, and we have a few other yeses in the chat.
Yes, exactly. And so if we give light, then as you can see here, that which is to give light must endure burning. Sometimes people will say to me that kind of means this no pain, no gain kind of thing. But the idea is that when you're the one who gives light, who brings light, there's often fatigue, pain, a burden that comes with that, a fatigue that sometimes comes with that. as we bring light and give light to others. I do hope that we can participate tonight by, as some of you have already started to do, is a show of hands. A show of hands. You can kind of do a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a celebrate hands. But I do hope that you'll participate with me as we go. Again, I apologize to you that I cannot see the chat feature. I've asked Jamie to help me with that. So Jamie, if there's questions or things that come in, if you'll just interrupt me and let me know, because I can't see that right now. So I want to set I want to level set for tonight's time together. First and foremost, I want to say that it's normal to not feel normal right now. I want you to acknowledge your mom guilt, right? The whole idea of you feel like a bad mom, a bad employee, that you're bad at everything. These are some of the things I'm hearing. Like, I'm not doing anything well. The idea of, that we have too much TV time or screen time. You fed your kids chicken nuggets 3 times this week. Or you're sending your kids to school. Or you're not sending your kids to school, right? There doesn't seem to be, a right answer on anything. But this Power Hour is about you. So I'm not really going to spend much time tonight at all talking about the emotional needs of your children, but really more talking about you. So out of the mouths of babes, these are a couple things. I've heard a lot of things over the last 8 months, but 2 that I found pretty interesting. One was pandemics can be stressful. This was said by a 9-year-old, and I thought, yes, in fact, pandemics can be stressful. And then the other one that I've heard is, I hate COVID. I really, really hate COVID. It has ruined everything. And of course, that was said back in June, when we know a lot of youth in particular, but parents in particular as well, right? Missing things like, their kids going to prom, 8th grade dinner, 8th grade dances, graduating from 3rd grade, all of the milestones that our kids missed. As parents, we missed as well. Not being able to attend weddings, graduations, in my case, even not even able to attend a funeral. And so we know that we hate COVID, right? COVID has ruined everything. So pandemics can, in fact, be stressful, right? There's the fear and the worry about your own health. In particular, if you have underlying health conditions, fear and worry about the people that you love and their health. If you have elderly parents, if you have people in your life with underlying health conditions, people who are essential workers, our teachers, people who are going out and about and needing to engage with large groups of people. And then, of course, there could be a financial situation that may be uncertain, loss of job, loss of health benefits. And then this idea of social distancing, isolation, and loneliness. But what else? If you can share in the chat feature, what else are the things that are contributing to this feeling of overwhelmed? What other things did I not capture that you think we should be considering in this?
Looking in the chat, April.
Thank you.
Give it a minute. Too much misinformation, no normal schedule, trying to take care of everyone's needs on top of my own, the balancing of time, not being able to pay my bills.
All excellent points, right? All excellent points. Trying to balance everything, taking care of everybody else's needs. And in the first one, I think that was listed, right? This misinformation. We don't know what to believe, who to believe. It seems like the story changes frequently. So there's a lot of things that are, in fact, contributing to the stress of the pandemic. I have taken to saying that we are experiencing multiple pandemics. By definition, a pandemic is any public health crisis that really spans the globe or spans the country. And we, in fact, have multiple pandemics that are happening right now. This not being able to pay bills is a pandemic, quite frankly. People being worried and concerned about keeping their homes. And then, of course, the mental health of our community and of our people. All of those things really, in my opinion, are the pandemics that we are experiencing. So as I kind of thought through this Dear Overwhelmed Mom, I really thought about pandemic fatigue syndrome. So again, if anybody wants to kind of raise your hand or put a thumbs up, if you've heard this term, pandemic fatigue syndrome. It was new to me, but like I said to you in the beginning, I've been training on compassion fatigue for years and years and years. And so I got to thinking, pandemic fatigue syndrome, what could that be? So in fact, there are words that are being talked about now nationally and in writing: coronavirus burnout, compassion fatigue, pandemic fatigue. These are terms that you might start hearing in the media. So what is burnout? Isn't that a work thing? I mean, when I hear about burnout, I often think about, people who work in kind of the healthcare industry or in social services type thing. But burnout is a term that has been coined relative to work. The idea here, I guess, is there such a thing as burnout at home? What do you think? Do you think we can get burned out at home, just with home duties and responsibilities?
Yes.
Absolutely. And
yes, it can be overwhelming.
Absolutely. It can be overwhelming. And one of the things I said earlier about the aha moments, what I'm really hoping is that we will get aha moments. And when you get the aha, right, that you will give me some reassurance, affirmation, just by letting me know that it is, in fact, an aha for you.
We do have a lot more in the chat. Yes, especially when you're being asked to do so, much more when you feel like you have less to give, having children and work, never-ending to-do lists.
Yes, exactly. We're being asked to do so much more, and we are fatigued, which really just leads us to the next slide about coronavirus burnout. So by definition, burnout really is the chronic conditions of perceived demands outweighing perceived resources, which is exactly what was just put in the chat, right? We've got too much to do and not enough time to do it. We are emotionally exhausted. Just by a show of hands or in the chat feature, how many of you would say that you are emotionally exhausted? Yeah, exactly. We're tired. We have reduced personal accomplishment, right? We've got so many things that we've got to get done, and it feels like we're spinning in a circle and we can't get as much done as we used to. But then it gets down to this: you do not like what you have to do. We don't like social distancing. We don't like the frequent hand washing. We certainly don't like the mask wearing. We don't want to do it anymore. And that really is kind of this icing on the cake in terms of how we feel. One of the things I hope that we can kind of cover tonight is, well, what is this compassion fatigue, coronavirus burnout, pandemic fatigue? What is it? And do I have it? Is there anything wrong with having it? How did I get it? And what can I do maybe to get rid of it? When you think of pandemic fatigue, I have to say, let's go back. When I think about coronavirus burnout, many of us have done less this year than we did in past years, and yet we are exhausted. Some of us are doing more these days than we ever have before. I will tell you, that I've always been pretty busy, but I now sit for 8, 9, 10 hours on Zooms all day, every day. And it feels to me like people are no longer having just common courtesy around the times that we schedule Zooms and lunch hours and lunch breaks. But there's this other thing, relationship burnout. I don't know how many of you are feeling burned out on relationships, but things like, if you live with a husband, a wife, a partner, a significant other, right? Starting to have questions like, do I even like him? Do I still like him? Exactly what do I like about him, right? Or her? Has he always sneezed that loud, right? If you're in the same house, right? Has he always cleared his throat that much? Has he always sneezed so often? Does she always talk that much? Those kinds of questions start happening. And I think, as I sit at my dining room table that's become my office, right? Listening to my husband talk to me while I'm on a Zoom, right? Who does that? Who talks to me while I'm literally on a Zoom? It's like, do you see me here working? This is what I'm doing. I'm working, right? So, and then the other thing is that we literally start having thoughts like, do I want to do this anymore? And I think we're going to start seeing actually in the workforce, people making decisions about do they want to continue working in the industry or the field that they're working in. So let's talk about pandemic fatigue. Again, as you can see, there's the chronic conditions of perceived demands outweighing perceived resources. And what you can see here is that all of the same things are true, except that you really do like what you do. You like what you do. You like parenting. You like your job. You want to keep doing all that you're doing, but you really want something to look forward to. Just by, again, in the chat feature, how many of you really just want something to look forward to? Like you want to look forward to a vacation or to a Thanksgiving dinner, or you want to look forward to a play date with your kids or a girls' night out, right? We want something to look forward to. One of the things that we know about the pandemic fatigue is that many of us are feeling like, am I doing enough? You have the time maybe, but not the motivation because you are fatigued or tired. Then there's this thing called a compassion trap. A compassion trap really is when you're doing your best and your best isn't good enough. Again, just in the chat, just by maybe a thumbs up or some hands, how many of you are feeling like you're doing your best, but your best just isn't good enough right now, that you're feeling like you're not enough, you're not doing enough? Good, thank you. Thank you for those of you who are participating. I appreciate it. Anything in the chat, Jamie?
Yes, I want to look forward to fun things, but there's never enough time, and then you feel guilty. Vacation outside of the house would be great.
Yes, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Yeah, I literally found myself asking, say it again, Jamie.
Not seeing my parents. It's very
Yes.
hard to have the homework, life balance, definitely a lot of overwhelming overall. Nothing on the calendar, time just all runs together, no breaks.
Exactly. And I really do want to kind of highlight that point, whoever wrote that. It really does all begin to run together. On one hand, it feels like these last 8 months have gone on forever. Weeks are just like rolling by. And here we are. And someone said to me the other day, you do realize that Thanksgiving is in like 3 weeks, probably 2 weeks now. And usually, we would have had a list together of what we're going to be preparing for Thanksgiving and none of those things have really even happened. And then this idea, another compassion trap, is that you're convinced that if you work harder, you can get it all done. How many of you have thought that? Like, I just need to start my day earlier or keep my night going later because now I'm working at home perhaps and right, trying to do parenting, trying to do teaching and schoolwork. Right. And then you start trying to convince yourself, I just need to do more. I need to stay up later. I need to get up earlier, all of which can be a compassion trap. The truth is, whatever your life looks like right now and whatever you're feeling is okay. Whether you're short-tempered with your kids or find yourself crying randomly, it's okay. Allow yourself to feel your feelings. It really, really is important that we take a minute to just to affirm you and to affirm each other that whatever feels that we're having right now really is okay. And this idea of, I think one of the most devastating things that's happening to many of us is this comparing ourselves to others, because we are doing that through social media and other media platforms where, we see people who've, lost 60 pounds over the last 7 months. And it's like, oh my God, why didn't I go on a diet? Why didn't I think of that? Or we're, seeing people doing house renovations. It's like, oh my gosh, I need to be doing all these projects, right? It really is this comparing to each other that really can be, what word do I want to use? It really can be very hard on self. And then, of course, we have compassion stress when we want to be perfect, but we're having a hard time letting go of some things. How many of you are in that space where you want to do it all? You really do. You want to do it all. You want to be perfect. You're trying to get it all done. And you really do have a hard time just letting go of some things, and really thinking about, one of the messages I try to give to myself, right, is the universe will provide. Whatever I don't get done today, maybe it doesn't ever get done, or maybe it will get done tomorrow. But in the end, I have to let some things go because my sleep is equally important. Another compassion stress really is when we become too rigid or we become too relaxed, and then mixed messages. Can anybody give me an example of a mixed message that we're getting? A mixed message.
Looking in the chat. Not just, this is another comment from before, but I feel like it applies. I feel like we are called to be as productive despite us all being affected by intense shutdowns and distancing. Take care of yourself, but you have thousands of deadlines. Take time, but continue to get your hours in. Let's see. Enjoy the time with your family. You won't get it back compared to there's no time for quality time because of too much work. It's okay to stay at home for your safety, but you need to report to the office. Moms can do it all versus moms need to take care of themselves. Agreed. I miss the feeling of accomplishment. There's so much uncertainty that nothing is getting completely accomplished. Another is, it's almost like you're expected to be more productive because you're at home now.
Yep, that's exactly true. That is so true. All of those, so true. Thank you so much for your willingness to share those things. That's exactly right. And that list of mixed messages, right, is if we sat here for several hours, we all could come up with dozens more, right? Take care of yourself, but do more. Moms can do everything, but take care of yourself. It's like, does everybody understand the contradiction in that? I can't do everything and take care of myself, right? It's one or the other. I can't take care of myself and be safe and leave my home and go to work every single day. These are mixed messages and contradictions in terms. So the truth is, right, is that you're in survival mode and it's okay to lower your usual standards right now. If screen time has to increase for your kids, you're still doing great. If not every meal is home cooked from scratch right now, you're still doing amazing. If you really are using fast food and or, TV dinner type things, right, it's all okay. I promise you that is not what your children are going to remember 10 years from now. what your children will remember is something very, very different than what they were eating or how much screen time they actually were allowed to have during a pandemic. I think the thing that I hear the most about is fatigue. How many of you are feeling weary, feeling tired on top of tired and fatigue? Just again, by a thumbs up or a show of hands, how many are feeling tired? Tired, by the way, fatigue tends to be the most common symptom of stress, depression, anxiety. Interestingly enough, it is also the #1 symptom of coronavirus, but having too much to do and not enough time to get it done, fatigue is very, very common. And I want to emphasize that to each and every one of you tonight, really, because I want to make sure that you understand that you're not alone. If you are feeling tired, you are supposed to be feeling tired. In other words, there's not anything wrong with you. In fact, it is the appropriate response to 8 months of living in a pandemic, and the stress that comes along with that is fatigue. Some of the other things that you might be feeling are cognitive, things like low concentration or rigidity. Remember, we talked about that a minute ago, or minimization. In other words, you're just kind of dismissing everything as not that big a deal. Or this emotional symptoms that you might be feeling, things like anxiety. I'm not going to ask you a personal question about anxiety, but I will tell you that one of the things that I am hearing the most really is in this emotional category, these feelings of powerlessness. Like, I don't know how to keep my kids safe. I don't know how to keep me safe. I don't know how to keep my elderly parents safe. I don't know, and I'm feeling anxious about illness or getting sick, or my parents getting sick, or guilt because I just want it all to end. I want it behind us. Anger and numbness and helplessness and sadness, literally feeling all of these feelings many times all at the same time. Some other symptoms that you might be experiencing, things like being irritable, having a short fuse, snapping at the people that you love. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep, like you're laying awake, staring at the ceiling. Or you're sleeping too much, like you have 8 hours of sleep and then in the morning you still feel tired. Maybe you're having eating changes and eating patterns, eating too much or eating too little. And then some of the other things that I'm hearing really that people are experiencing in this kind of spiritual realm around questioning, life's meaning and kind of this loss of purpose. And someone said in the chat feature, right, that I want to feel a sense of accomplishment again, but questioning your beliefs and maybe skepticism and that kind of thing. And then, of course, there's the somatic symptoms that some of us may be feeling, things like difficult breathing or dizziness or headaches, difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, rapid heartbeat, all of those things. I list these symptoms because what I think is important is that, just together that we acknowledge that our physical bodies are taking a toll on all of the additional requirements that we are experiencing through the pandemic. Some of us might have worsening of chronic health problems, worsening of a mental health condition. If we were prone to anxiety before the pandemic, certainly we can expect that our anxiety is now through the roof. Or if we were experiencing depression or depressive symptoms prior to the pandemic, relationship problems, in other words, any of those symptoms that we were experiencing prior to the pandemic, in most cases, have intensified as the months have gone on. And of course, we are hearing about relapse. We are hearing about people who have maybe previously had an eating disorder or a drinking disorder, and now they've relapsed. Maybe they were in recovery for many, many years. If any of these things are your experience, please know that you are not alone. These are things that do in fact happen as a result of stress and as a result of trying to survive in a pandemic. which is new really to all of us. Certainly what we know about truths, one of the truths that, I say here many truths, which are symptoms are not shameful. I really hope that as you think about the symptoms that I've listed, if you've identified with any of them, or if you've identified with all of them, please know that symptoms are not shameful. They really are telling us that we're put together right. They really are an example of being put together right, not put together wrong. These symptoms are calling us back to center. But the other thing that I want to make sure I emphasize is that symptoms will not be ignored. If you are having a headache every day at 4 o'clock, and you ignore that headache, we don't take steps and strategies to at least acknowledge the headache, that headache will become worse, will get worse, it will become more chronic. If you're having a difficult time going to sleep, and you aren't paying attention to that, the symptoms will get worse. They will not simply be ignored. So as we talk about and identify with the symptoms of stress and of kind of coronavirus fatigue and pandemic burnout, we want to come up with some strategies really to help us get through that and really address those symptoms. So why is this happening? Why are you tired upon tired, and this worry and the repetition and the restrictions and working at the kitchen table? Again, I don't know how many of you are working from home, but working from home is an added stressor, right? We have the obvious pandemic stressors, but then we have this added stressor, right? We're homeschooling, your life seems on hold, we can't plan for a future. I remember months ago me saying, well, we're going to get through this calendar year and then we'll plan for January. And now I'm hearing that I really can't even plan for January, right? So our life seems to be on hold. Some other examples really of compassion fatigue or coronavirus fatigue, right? Everything seems like a crisis right now. We might have frequent headaches. You no longer enjoy the things that used to give you pleasure, or you're not allowed to enjoy the things that used to give you pleasure. You're feeling frazzled, and you believe that you don't have time to be proactive. If we were together face to face, I would be asking you this question: how many of you feel like you don't even have time to go to the bathroom? And oftentimes, like I said a minute ago, this everything being virtual, and we're not even giving consideration to common courtesy, things like, what one of my colleagues calls a comfort break. That we aren't giving each other comfort breaks where we can actually get up and stretch or use the bathroom, those kinds of things. So the quote today, I hope, a second quote for today is: learning is what you remember after you have forgotten everything I said. So I'm going to get now to kind of the 6 R's to stress management, some things that we can do as we try to manage the stress levels and the fatigue that comes along with this pandemic. And I hope that learning is what you remember after you've forgotten everything I said, that there will be some takeaways that you take with you about some things that you might be able to do. So there are 6 R's to stress management. One is responsibility, right? Taking personal responsibility for stress management. Reflection, giving yourself time to reflect, even if it's just reflecting on, I've had a headache all day, or I've had a headache for 3 days in a row. And then, of course, relaxation, relationships. I said a minute ago that your children probably won't remember if they had 3 days of chicken nuggets. But what they probably will remember from the year 2020 is their time with you. Did you allow time for play? I often tell people that play really is the antidote. It is not self-care necessarily. It is play, allowing yourself to play, even if it's adult play. You hear often about coloring books and, calming relaxation, junk TV. For me, I will tell you, it was TikTok. Anybody else get on TikToks? Anybody do TikToks? So I thank you. I became this TikTok, like I literally was spending an hour, 2 hours a night on TikToks. And then my son said, that's dangerous. You got to delete that app. And so I deleted the app because, oh my gosh, it was dangerous. And now I don't have that outlet anymore. But relationships, certainly refueling and recreation. We need to really be proactive with exercise. We can't go to the gym. I'm not recommending gyms necessarily. If you are going to the gym, I support you. I certainly will not shame you for that. If you don't feel like going to the gym is safe, there are other ways that we can participate in exercise, even if it's walking, going outside and grounding. I don't know how many of you have ever tried grounding, but it really is bare feet, outside on the grass, in the soil. Grounding can be very, very helpful. Obviously, good nutrition. Some of these things are really hard to do, especially when you're overwhelmed and stressed. Good nutrition kind of is the first thing that goes out the window, and we start eating Oreos, right? If you're eating too many Oreos, again, just be good to yourself on it, because this too shall pass is what I'll say to that. Pets can be a really good thing. I just adopted a new kitty, and it really has been just an uplifting experience to have a new kitten in the house, and just enjoying my pet. Gardening is something that you can do despite the pandemic, is getting out in the yard. Even if you're not a gardener, just getting out in your yard can be pulling weeds, planting flowers, moving pots around, that kind of thing. Of course, sleep is a really, really important thing. And then quality time with family, even if that's virtual. I hope that, like we're doing here tonight, that you are doing some of those things with your family. Someone said earlier in the chat feature that they haven't been able to see their parents. I haven't either. My parents are in their 80s. They live in North Carolina. I have not been able to see my parents for a long time. And so for 8 months, since March. And I would have seen them probably 3 or 4 times by now in this time span. So I know I'm not alone, right? I know I'm not alone. I see we have a mama on the thing holding her baby right now. I love that picture. Listening, thank you for sharing your baby with us. Listening to us while you rock your baby, that's beautiful and amazing. So sweet. Someone said something about routines earlier, and routines can't be kept. And one of the things that I want to say, right, is keeping healthy routines, right? Predictable routines, maintaining bedtimes, not just for your kids, but for you. This idea of I gotta work, I gotta do more to keep up. I'm gonna stay up later. I'm not going to bed on time. Your wake up times. So keeping some healthy routines, going to bed on time, getting up on time, getting dressed, even if you're working from home. I see a lot of examples of people who have a work shirt on, but they have their pajama pants on, kind of thing, right? Sometimes just the idea of getting dressed and keeping the routine of getting ready for work, even if you're working from home, can be helpful. The other thing, though, is establish new routines. Break up your work when possible. Some of you said, people are expecting more and more of you. But if you can break up your day, working in the morning, and then, in other words, you're not confined to an 8 to 5. If you can break up your work times when possible, that can be very helpful. And then, of course, turning off cell phones and social media. I know this is a very difficult thing to do. People often, like I said, with my TikToks, I often got a lot of pleasure out of those TikToks, but really turning off social media, in particular, turning off cell phones. This instant, immediate access to everybody, I think, is particularly challenging during this time. Anything in the chat right now, Jamie?
Yes. So Yaya says that she gets dressed and she puts her heels on.
Good for you, Yaya.
I got into plants and have a garden. I check on my plants daily. Mandy said
Wonderful.
one thing that helped me get through some anxiety was to stop thinking about all of the things I couldn't do and start being extra thankful for the things I was able to do.
Wonderful.
Going to a local park to eat lunch for an hour. Going to the gym. Let's see. We have some more. Amy got rid of cable TV, less bad news.
Wonderful.
Sheila adopted 2 kittens. Miss Davenport, or Mr., I'm sorry, salt lamps, burning candles, and quiet music. Burning candles, reading a book, and listening to relaxing music. Yeah.
Wonderful. And that really is just a beautiful segue into this list of resiliency and self-care strategies, guided imagery, which can often happen with music, but really, listening to soothing, soft music that allows you just kind of to escape. Someone was telling me the other day about these glasses, it starts with an O, but you put this device on, and it will take you to beautiful places, to the rainforest and to, ice skating kind of thing. Visualization is a really good strategy when we feel like we can't go any place and we can't, see the things that we want to go see. Using visualization like these, it starts with an O, octave, I think glasses, octaves. So you can really kind of be guided through. Humor is really good for us right now. Belly laughing, really coming up with things that are just funny. And hopefully you're paying attention and you're using your noticing skills where you're noticing funny things. And then of course there's music. Someone said music. Listening to music can really be a game changer. And prayer, certainly. Meditation, walking, grounding, the things that we talked about. And I'm so glad to hear the list that you've shared with me. So some tips and tricks, right? Shift your perspective. Will your kids remember that they ate chicken nuggets 3 times in a week when they're adults? No, they will not. I promise you they will not. Or whatever it is that you're feeding them, macaroni and cheese out of a box. It doesn't matter. Right? What matters is that they're eating, and perhaps that they're eating together with you. Will they remember that there was more family cuddles during the pandemic year? Absolutely. Will they remember that mom played games, or that we got to, watch my favorite movie every single night while mom worked at the table, right? They're going to remember those things. And then try to think in terms of shifting your perspective. Exchange the word social distancing with physical distancing. What we really need to do is physical distance, but we really don't need to do is social distance. We really do need to stay connected to others. Some more tips and tricks, right? Cut yourself some slack. Give yourself some pats on the back. I literally, my husband, I find it humorous, some of the things that he has said to me. But one of the things that I think that he said that was really helpful, by the way, was, you know what I've been doing? I've literally been doing this, giving myself a pat on the back. Just the physical act of giving myself a pat on the back. That might not work for all of us, but it certainly worked for my husband, where he's literally giving himself a pat on the back, not just thinking about it. So cut yourself some slack. If you get 2 things done on your list, but not all 10, still give yourself the pat on the back. Lean on your village. I hope that you consider these power hours your village, a part of your village. I love the idea of women coming together, helping women. As a colleague of mine often says, is real queens help straighten other queens' crowns, right? We straighten each other's crowns. We're good to each other. We lift each other up. Lean on your village. Use FaceTime with your parents, with your grandparents. Utilize the free resources that are available. I'm assuming most of you know things like live streams of zoos and aquariums around the world. That's happening. You know, people are accommodating virtual, and you literally can sign up and take a tour of zoos and aquariums from around the world, which I think is quite amazing. And then, of course, Instagram videos and celebrities reading bedtime stories and children's books and those kinds of things. But lean on your village. Some more tips and tricks. Break things down into smaller steps, one thing at a time. Make a list of what you really have to get done. Eliminate the extra noise, the other things. Cross one thing off at a time. If you run out of time, there's always tomorrow. And then this idea of the universe will provide. Whatever it is you really have to get done, you will get done. Self-care. I know someone said earlier, right, this mixed message of, you know, be the perfect parent and do self-care. I do want to spend just a minute on self-care in terms of prioritizing yourself. I'm so happy to hear many of you saying things like you're getting the time maybe to read. In the beginning, I set a goal to read one book a week. That was pleasure reading as opposed to work reading. It lasted for the first 2 months. I read wonderful books, and I really haven't done it since. I did it for the first 2 months and really have found that I don't have the time to do it. So I need to revisit that even for myself. But your health, your rest, decompression time, so that you have the stamina to keep up, really is very important. I call it a brain dump. Start with a piece of paper, write everything down that's in your head, write everything down. If you're worried about your kids falling behind in school, write it down. If you're concerned about all the laundry that you have to get done, write it down. If you're worried that you're not getting enough, one-on-one time with with one of your kids or with your significant other, write it down. And then once you get it all out of your head, right, you've done this brain dump, then maybe begin to prioritize what's on that list, cross some things off that maybe you don't have time to do, but really start to just do this brain dump every night before you go to bed. Write it all down so that you can have a clear mind when you lay down at night. So what do you see here? When you see this, what do you see? Jamie, anything in the chat?
Yes. Opportunity is nowhere versus opportunity is now here. A few people are saying opportunity is now here. Some people say that they see opportunity.
Yes. How many of you saw opportunity is nowhere? Anybody, by a show of hands? Anybody willing to tell me nowhere? Yes, I got a thumbs up. How many of you saw opportunity is now here? Yeah, some of you. This exercise really is around and about the idea that using the same words, using the same letters, right? We all see different things. And I hope that what we can see is that opportunity is now here. Amy said it took me a while. Yes, right? The exact same letters say literally the opposite thing. Opportunity is nowhere versus opportunity is now here. What we know is that in a crisis, that there is opportunity. And if we can begin to see the opportunity that is in front of us, despite or in spite of this pandemic, the better we will be. And maybe that's opportunity to clean out your closet. Maybe it's opportunity to spend more time with your kids playing games. Maybe it's opportunity that you're learning how to cook a new dish. Whatever that opportunity is. Renee says, I can't remember where I put my glass, LOL. It took me a while. Opportunities now here. Oh, Sheila said the Cincinnati Zoom Facebook page sends the most amazing videos daily. Fiona, the hippo youngster, is so funny. So that's at the Cincinnati Zoo. I do hope that that you are taking advantage of the free resources that are available. We set up a bookcase full of board games next to the dining room table to make it easier to have family game time, like when we stay in cabins on vacations. Exactly. At my house, we're doing more puzzles. We only do puzzles on vacation, and now we're doing puzzles during the regular work week. It's just something to mindless zoning out, as opposed to having to be on at all times. So that's the end of my presentation. We have about 10 minutes left or so. I just want to open it up for questions. If you have questions of something that you had hoped to get out of tonight that you didn't get, or questions that you have for me, I would love to answer them. You can use the chat feature. I've stopped sharing my screen so I can now see the chat feature, and we'll be happy to respond to any of the questions that you have, or ideas that you want to share with each other. Summer says this was great, especially with the holidays coming up, a time when it is always hard to keep up. Christmas cards, baking, shopping, gifts, and work from home, kids at home, distance learning, etc. I worry the holidays won't be as magical and I will fail my kiddos. Some of these tools will help for sure. Yes, I'm assuming that most of you are feeling the way Summer has described here tonight. I think I said about Thanksgiving, right? It's just a couple weeks away, and we feel perhaps like we might be failing if we don't uphold traditions that we've had for years. But I assure you that 1 year not doing the traditions that you have historically done with your children and families, they will be fine. If your children are old enough, obviously, explain it to them. Talk to them about it. Start a new tradition. Ask them if there's a new tradition they would like to start in the middle of the pandemic, something that they could do that's different than any other tradition you've ever done when we weren't under a pandemic. See if there's other things that you could establish as a pandemic tradition for Thanksgiving, for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it is that you celebrate. Come up with a new tradition. Others, hooray for canned cranberry sauce. I can handle that. Yes, exactly. Right? Hooray for canned cranberry sauce. So true. I've been thinking about the things that we traditionally do for Thanksgiving, for example. My family, my twin sister and I have run the turkey trot with my mom and with my family literally for decades. We've gotten up at the crack of dawn. We've gone and run the turkey trot before we come back and start cooking. So this year we're going to do our own turkey trot. We're going to go out and do our own run before Thanksgiving dinner. We're going to do it just the two of us or the 3 or 4 of us, rather than just skipping it all together, because that will feel like a downer. So come up with other things that you might be able to do just to accommodate the situation that we're in. Sheila says, I need to remind myself to ask for help from my husband, my kids. Exactly. It might not be the way I would do things, but they want to help. That is so true. Asking more of the people around us, asking our kids to take on a few more responsibilities, asking our husband. Sheila makes a good point. They might not do it exactly the way you would do it, right? Let it go. Let it go. Give yourself a break, right? And as long as it gets done, let it go. Yaya says we should be proud because through this we have been very resilient and keep going. I couldn't agree more. Yaya, we really have tapped into some of our superpowers during this time, and have done things that I don't think that any of us ever even considered that we can do. With that said, asking for help, not taking on more than is reasonable is fair. And I really want to celebrate and support each and every one of you and all of us together, that sometimes we have to say enough is enough, and miss a meeting, and take a nap instead, because we need to rest. Simone says, ask for help when I need a break or I feel overwhelmed. Exactly, Simone. I really want to encourage you to do that. Jamie said, I've seen so much creativity throughout this. Absolutely, right? We've seen little c and big C creativity. I don't know if you know the difference, but little c creativity really is those of us who are not artists, right? We're not songwriters, we're not poetry writers, right? But we've found our little c creativity, and we've learned how to get creative with what we have. And then, of course, the big C creative, the people who really do know how to paint and draw and write poetry. Some of those people have gotten very creative out of this time as well. Tassie says, going around the table recounting everything we are thankful for will look different this year. It sure will. I am more thankful for the mundane things: air in our lungs, food in our bellies, roof over our head. Absolutely. Thank you really for bringing that perspective, right? The things that we're thankful for this year will be different. We have that tradition at my house too, where we go around the table and say one thing that we're thankful for. And I believe that list will be different this year as well. And there'll be fewer people around our dining room table. But we can still come up with ways to do what we're thankful for, right? Via Zoom, via text message, group text, those kinds of things. Say yes to those who offer to help. Sometimes people say no and think they are a burden. If someone is offering to help, let them. Thank you, Jamie, for that. You're absolutely correct. Because sometimes we say no, because we don't want to be a burden to others. But trust me when I tell you, right, we need to lock arms, right? This is a game of Red Rover, right? I don't know if you guys remember that game, but this is the game of Red Rover, right? We have to lock arms and do this together. Other things that we want to share with each other in the time that we have. Yes, us moms stink at asking for help. I agree. And we've heard from a couple of you tonight, right? Sheila and others who have said, right, we need to ask others for help. We need to let them help us. We need to not control how they do it because maybe it won't be exactly the way we wanted it done. But it will be one thing off our checklist, things to do. I have to tell you, I've given up laundry in my house. My husband now does all the laundry. I've also given up dishes. He now does all the dishes. He doesn't do any of those things the way I would do them. But I have to tell you, I've gotten very comfortable with letting him do it. At what point do you start asking for help? Jamie says. Certainly, the earlier you can ask for help, the better. But I will say that if you are right now, after tonight's Power Hour, if you have a list of things that you're not going to be able to get done tonight, is the time we ask for help. We start tonight. We give one thing off our list to somebody else to do. Pick one thing that you can ask somebody else in your life to do. The worst, by the way, is your husband single? Sometimes, by the way. But sometimes, sometimes we'll ask somebody to do something for us, and they have to tell us they can't. If someone says they can't do what you're asking them to do, please don't see that as a sign that you should have never asked in the first place. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. In fact, I would say asking for help is a sign of strength. Knowing your limits, knowing when to say when to cry uncle, when to say I can't do more, right, is a sign of strength for sure. Other things that we would like to say to each other tonight before we go. I have so enjoyed our time together. For those of you who have gotten to see your beautiful faces, I so appreciate it. By the way, for those of you who don't know, there is a touch-up feature in chat. And so if in the future you want to turn on your video and you want to use the touch-up feature, I don't know if you can see how smooth and beautiful my face looks tonight, but it's because of this magic that exists that Sheila taught me about before we got started. It's called the touch-up feature. So thank you for that, Sheila. Oh, now we're seeing Renee. I love seeing your beautiful face. And Amy, I love seeing your beautiful face. Oh, look, we're seeing everybody. Thank you guys so much for turning your cameras on and letting me see you. I really have enjoyed our time together tonight. It's gone by so fast. Debbie says, thankful for the great tips. Thank you for that, Debbie, for saying that. And to all of you who shared in the chat and really disclosed kind of how you're feeling and where you are, I appreciate your willingness to do that with me tonight. Thank you, Yaya, for saying it's a great presentation. My name is April Lott. I hope I said that in the beginning. If I didn't, I think Sheila told you that. I should put my email address maybe here. If anybody ever needs me for anything, I hope you will reach out and let me help. Also, for those of you who have registered for this course, you'll be able to access the PowerPoint presentation. We're going to get that out to everybody as well. I've put my email address there in the chat feature if anybody needs me. April, thank you for your time. I've heard you speak multiple times in my role on our regional SISM team. I love your energy. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing this information in your time. Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you to the school system and to the Juvenile Welfare Board for inviting me here tonight. You guys are right where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Please be kind to yourself. Do what my husband taught me. Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a nice pat. You're doing a great job. No matter what you're doing, I promise you, you're doing it perfectly. So thank you all and have a good night.
Thank you, April.
Thank you.
Everyone will get the recording link in their email tomorrow. We thank you for joining us. Parent Academy Power Hours. Have a great evening.
Good night.